Good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. Of course, Thursday lunchtime being Thursday lunchtime, we're about to talk boxing. And this weekend, the WBA interim world heavyweight title will be up for grabs. Britain's Fabio Wardley takes on Australia's undefeated Justis Huni at Portman Road, Ipswich. Fabio, of course, being a huge fan of Ipswich Town. We're going to head there very shortly. Spencer Oliver is going to be waiting to speak to us there. Here with us in studio, delighted to say that talkSPORT's fight host Ade Oladipo has joined us in studio. Ade, first things first, we have just finished a chat with Sir Bradley Wiggins. Wow. There is still fallout coming from that. He was sensational, and I know you were standing out there having a listen to it, but boy, did he take us by surprise at his positivity,
the energy.
About what he said, the energy. He's in a great place now, which is wonderful to hear and see.
Oh, honestly, it was. I was just watching it, as you say, in the gallery, and I was like, look at Bradley Wiggins. Because, look, we all know the story and what he's been through in the last decade. You can go back even further. And some won't. And so to see him come through and come out the other side and now be very positive and energetic, as you say, and still full of life, such a character. I almost feel like he could venture into so many different things. He's got so many stories. He's a fantastic storyteller. And a bit like the man to my right here, he doesn't hold no punches, does he?
Oh, he doesn't hold back.
He will say exactly what he wants to say. So, more life to him. And again, it is so good to see someone that's been through the darkest of days, sort of show he's now true self and sort of the light and colour in his face.
It'll be a good book.
Very good book.
Good movie.
Yeah. A good movie as well. Yeah. And what I liked, Ade, was that he wasn't afraid to out Simon at the end, because years ago he tried to get him involved in some dodgy bicycle scheme. And I'm going to get to the bottom of that when you and I go off air today. But no, terrific stuff. Sir Bradley, if you're still listening, thank you.
Yeah.
That was indeed sensational. You're looking forward to this weekend. Are we going to see a sensational fight at Portman Road?
I think we will. I think the main event's intriguing. Justis Huni comes with this sort of unknown quantity. Unbeaten fighters never think they can lose. He's a good prospect. A lot of people have been talking about him for a few years. It's a step up for him. It's a step up for Fabio as well, if I'm honest. So it's intriguing because these are two guys. I think Fabio's a top 10 heavyweight. Justis is probably sort of floating around that top 15, top 20. But if he wins, he's now floating with the big boys. So it's two guys, both around the same size, both can punch. I think Justis is probably the better boxer. His amateur pedigree tells me that. But Fabio's got that punch power equaliser, so I think it's an intriguing matchup.
Ade, let's head there right now, actually. Spencer Oliver is waiting to speak to us. And, of course, Spencer, being Spencer, isn't standing alone. He has someone alongside him. Spencer, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. The last time I was with this young man to my right was Paris, Summer Paris 2024, the Olympic Games, where Lewis Richardson picked up the bronze medal. And we're here now. Lewis is just about to make his debut on the undercard of that fantastic fight you guys were just talking about, and we're in a town hall in Ipswich. Not quite the backdroppings, Lewis, that we had with the Eiffel Tower in the back, but great opportunity for you.
Absolutely, really excited to, not really excited to be in Ipswich with this weather at the moment, but really excited to make my debut on Saturday night. You know, been around 9-10 months since the Olympic Games now, and ready to put my stamp on the professional game.
Yeah, very excited to see him turn pro. People have been talking about him. Obviously, it's not just the Olympic bronze medal. I mean, you look at his amateur record and it's proper. He's competed Europeans, medal there, World Championships. He's been there as well. So I think everyone's excited to see you turn pro, Lewis. What are your thoughts? Is it nerves? Is it excitement? Just want to put on the smaller gloves and give it a crack?
I'm excited, to be honest. The hard work's done now. The beauty of myself is I always apply myself in the gym, and I know that I'm at peace when I come into fight week, because I know the hard work's done, and it's just about enjoying these next few days. Obviously, done a bit of community work with Boxwise yesterday. Got the press conference today, weigh-in tomorrow, and then fight day on Saturday. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
I almost feel like when fighters turn pro, especially of a card of this magnitude, I mean, normally back in the day, you turn pro at York Hall, Bethnal Green, in front of a man and his dog. Now you're going to turn pro in front of a few thousand.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I like it because it gives them sort of lofty expectations of where they can go. And I think it's good to see a sort of a place of where you can be in the next sort of 2 to 3 years if you keep on cracking on with your record.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis, when you were with us in studio, I think, Simon, we were very impressed by Lewis and his attitude, the way he spoke. And there is an extension of it there. He says he's at peace with himself when he gets to fight week because he knows all the hard work's been done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to make a debut, isn't it? He's playing, he's fighting in a football stadium on the undercard of a big fight with lots of media interest. Great baptism, great opportunity, great way to show his wares, and I think he'll probably rise to the occasion, won't he?
Yeah. No, he's expected to as well. And I guess that's the pressure when you are sort of an amateur that everyone wants the signature. You've almost got to look good immediately because they want to fast track you. Let's be honest, he's good enough to be fast tracked very quickly.
Who's he with? Who's Lewis with?
Queensbury
With Frank,
yeah. So no pressure.
Good place,
yeah, good place, good matchmaking. Yeah. And as you can see, he's big for the weight as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, Spence isn't exactly a giant, but he's very big for the weight. Sorry, Spence. Sorry.
I've got to say, Addy, you comparing me to anyone, mate, in height differences, if they're my height, they're very, very small. Let's just say that. But look, you're talking about the pressure on his shoulders. He was the guy that went to the Olympic Games. And when we was looking through, all the fighters that were competing out there, because we were out there, you're looking through there and you go, Lewis Richardson was one of the names that you didn't pick out to medal and was the only guy that sort of excelled out there and went on to achieve brilliant things. And Marco Verdi, who he boxed in the semi-finals, I thought, from Mexico, I thought he was very unlucky not to win that fight. He should have won that fight, should have come through. But yeah, he performed out there, and this is a great opportunity for him. He's taken his time. He's gone around the gyms. He's been looking for the right trainer to train with and the right team to advise him. Colin McMillan, who's just to our right here, former WBO world featherweight champion. Guys, you will remember him. He's a great guy to have in the camp as well. So Lewis has done it the right way here, and I think that boxing on these sort of shows gives him a little taste, a little flavour of what's to come. But look, if you're good enough, you will deliver. You feed off that pressure, and I think this young man will. He proved that out in the Olympics.
Exactly that, and we talk about that pressure. I've dealt with the pressure. I've dealt with the pressure, many times in the amateurs. Of course, I know we're on a big platform on DAZN now, and I'm excited. I'm excited to get started. But with that pressure is privilege, and I'm ready to perform.
You were with Simon and myself in this very building, Lewis, and of course, following the Paris Olympics, you emerged with a medal. You had a decision to make. I'm going to go professional, and you were talking to us about what's involved in a decision like that. But it's taken you some time, hasn't it? A, to go down the professional route, and B, to select a promoter just to get all your ducks in a row, feel like. Why have you decided to take such time over it?
It's an important step. I think get this initial step right, and you can really navigate your way through to the next 3, 4, 5 years in a successful manner. I'd rather prepare diligently in that process, like I do in the gym for a fight. I'd rather prepare, get the exact right team around me that I need, so then now we've got that team, I can propel forward and really get things moving without stop-start career.
Stylistically, Lewis, I mean, a lot of sort of young fighters coming through now always look at someone in their weight class turning pro that's done really well, that they kind of style their own style on. Who do you look at and think, okay, that's kind of my style in the pro game?
Do you know what? I wouldn't necessarily compare myself to anybody else in particular. I think if we are talking about styles from if we're going on different weights, someone like a Luke Campbell who's super skillful, but just a clean, slick southpaw who's hard to hit, but can also do a bit of both. I think we see when Luke stepped up against them tough fights against Linares and against Lomachenko, he wasn't afraid to mix it and do a bit of both, and also my style, I'll be friendly to do that. I think I'll be easier than I to watch because the skill will show through, but also I know I can dig deep and get gritty if I need to.
Lewis, very briefly, are you excited about the top of the bill with Fabio going in against this lad Huni?
I'm very excited. I think it's a better fight than the original scheduled fight. Obviously, I know Justice from the amateur background, and I know he's a very skillful fighter. But we know with Fabio he can seriously punch, and he's exceeded expectations. So I'm excited for the main event for sure. So I'll get my debut out of the way, successful debut, have a quick shower in the Ipswich change rooms, and then get out on ringside and watch the main event.
Oh, mate, we're all with you. We are all with you. It's an absolute delight having you on the show again, as they literally set the place up behind them. Just a reminder, as if you didn't need it, this Saturday the WBA interim title is on the line. Fabio Wardley battles Australia's rising champ Justice Huni at Portman Road. live on DAZN. Sign up at DAZN.com/boxing. We're back after this. Wow, we are still getting many, and I mean many messages coming our way about that chat Simon and I did a short time ago with Sir Bradley Wiggins. Thanks to everybody who is commenting on it. There is one, I'll just pick one at random. I have never been a fan of Bradley Wiggins, I say that, but that's up until now. He was magnificent with you boys. Sounds like he's a completely different person. This is what we get.
Look, credit to you guys, because it takes the people he's speaking to bring that out in him.
Oh, we're delighted about that.
Yeah, some people will kind of stay closed off until they feel comfortable to have a conversation. You guys obviously make him comfortable, and then you can get the best out of people. I
think it's a reaction you're after, and people react in a very spontaneous way, Addy, and that's what we want. Regardless of who is talking on this show, it's what we want. Spencer is in Ipswich with us this lunchtime. We're not there, we're here. Where is here? London Bridge. And we're talking about the WBA Interim World Heavyweight title fight. This weekend, Fabio Wardley up against Australia's undefeated Justice Huni. Addy in studio with Simon and myself. And it was interesting, Spencer, Justice Huni spoke to us the other day, and he knows what he's going into at Portman Road because it's Fabio's backyard. This was Huni.
Just everyone against me. That's how I feel it's going to go. But yeah, I just want to stay focused and keep my eyes on the prize and my mind on the job.
So that was Justice Huni. Let's follow up with Fabio Wardley because Fabio was great. So too was Justice in the chat. A lot of mutual respect flying around. And Fabio, does he want to be active? You bet he does. This is just the start. Have a listen.
No, I don't think that has. One, because of obviously what you're saying, but also because of just how many heavyweights or very good heavyweights there are out there in boxing at the moment, which also makes for great fights, people with great stories behind them or great backing to create some great events. So this is, again, that's another reason as to why I want to keep pushing forward. I want harder fights. I want better opponents to keep my name in that mix because this is almost a golden age of heavyweight boxing that we haven't seen for a long time. So I want to be in the mix. I want to be active and fighting those people. I don't want to be sat on the sidelines watching this kind of moment go by.
I think that he was reacting there, Andy, to do you still have a lot to prove? Maybe in some ways he doesn't, maybe in some ways he does, but by God, he wants to be busy.
He does, and look, I spoke to him. I did like a walk and talk around Portman Road with him, which was just incredible, sort of looking at the scenes that are, fingers crossed the weather stays good as well, looking at the scenes that are going to be expected.
I don't think it's going to.
You think it's going to pour down?
I do, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There you go. But look, he only put on the gloves 10 years ago, which is incredible. And I almost feel like he's been forgotten in certain discussions. We go from Daniel Dubois, we skip and then go to Moses Italma. And like there's Fabio in between, and Fabio's probably closer to a world title shot than Moses Italma.
We say that he wants to be busy, but he hasn't fought for 9 months. So, we do have to bake that into our thinking because there's other things that are going on. We spent more time talking about David Adelaide than we've talked about Fabio Wardley. So that's on Fabio. So he goes in on the weekend, does his job, and then it'll be fascinating to see where it takes him because that's the next step. Everyone talks about Fabio Wardley now. Boxing is so instantaneous observation. It goes from somebody being someone of significance to someone being insignificant in a second. People change their opinions instantaneously. And if Fabio Wardley were to lose on Saturday, which I don't think will happen, all of a sudden would come the backstory that he was elevated too quickly, his back career wasn't long enough, and all of a sudden the dynamics would change in turn on a sixpence. Right now we're basing Fabio on 2 performances. One that was an absolute barn burner of a fight, which was a draw between him and Fraser, and obviously the most recent one, which is 9 months ago now, best part of, isn't it? Which was the absolute destruction of Fraser. And he's been elevated as a result of that. I don't know how much of a test Justice Huni's going to make for him. I know that Eddie and his gang, Barry Hearn's son, are advocating for the fact that they've made a mistake. They've made a mistake taking this fight. But I think that Fabio will do the business on Saturday. I'll just be fascinated to see where Frank takes him next and what that looks like.
Well, Eddie, let's put that to Spencer. What are you hearing out there, Spencer? I mean, is the thought process there that Justice Huni has a hell of a job on his hands to do something against Fabio on Saturday night?
Absolutely. He's come to the Lion's Den. Justice Hooney knows he's coming into that. He's well travelled. He's a well-schooled amateur who's competed in all the games all around the world. So he knows what he's coming into. Let's not make no mistake about that. But I think that for Fabio Wardley, he's one of those guys that likes to feed off the pressure. And you talk about, we going off his career of 2 wins, one that draw, and that significant improvement in the second fight with Fraser Clark, where he took him out in a round. But you go, this guy is one of the most dangerous heavyweights out there and could give any heavyweight a problem. And I think that the draw showed us where he's at and the character that he's got. But you can go forward there. You can go when he beat David Adelaide for that British title, and you saw, he had to come through some minor crises in that fight as well. Showed a lot of character, but showed that he can take any opponent out at any time, and he doesn't get disheartened. So he's a very dangerous guy, and I think he's going to deliver on Saturday. I think that, boxing in front of his home fans is a dream, and this guy that's only been boxing for 10 years gets that opportunity. It's going to be a massive, massive night for him. He wins this, he's WBA #1. He's put his name in the mix, and what Simon was talking about there with the heavyweight landscape and the way the opportunities arise. We got this undisputed fight going on. What happens to the titles after that? Do the titles fragment? Does he get that opportunity? But he wants to be in the big fights with the big names. He feels that he's done that development. He's done his apprenticeship, and he now wants the big fights.
Yeah, and that's probably what it's going to be. Honestly, I think Frank will chuck him in with one of the big boys if he does win on Saturday, just because of his age. Not that he's old or not, but let's see what he's got. He's mature in age. He's delivered in British level fights. This one's above British level, and then you go, don't you? Then you see where you are. So I think they'll chuck him in with someone sort of ranked in that top 10. I mean, we've been speaking about Itoma versus Martin Bakole. What about Fabio versus Martin Bakole? I mean, potentially. I mean, so there are names out there for him. When I spoke to Justice, though, about, fighting in front of potentially 25,000 fans that don't want you to win, he kind of did, to be fair, point out that, Ade, the last time you've covered, or the last few DAZN fights you've covered, all the home people have lost. All of them.
All of them?
Johnny Fisher, Josh Taylor, Lee Wood. It's Lewis Crocker. Literally so it doesn't necessarily matter that you're going into someone else's backyard. Once you're in that squared circle, it's you against the opponent, and then we'll see the best man win.
There's a lot of work going on around Spencer out there. Spencer, better watch out in the next 15 minutes or so. You might end up being put in a box there. We'll see. We shall return to Spencer about 1:45. In the meantime, the three of us here back in studio are bowling up to 12:30. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Ade Oladipo, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. We were treated in the world of boxing to a great chat with Don Charles, trainer of one Daniel Dubois, who sat ringside where Daniel trains. And Spencer set it up, then stayed on, and then Spencer got himself into a very decent one-to-one chat with Daniel Dubois himself. So 5 weeks from the fight, what kind of space do we find Dubois in? That's exactly what Spencer put to Daniel.
Yeah, really excited about it. Couldn't ask for more. This is what I want, and now we're getting it on the big show, and gonna put it right.
Nearly 2 years ago, the controversy surrounded, was it a low blow, wasn't it a low blow? When you look back on that and reflect on that, what do you think about that fight?
I think nothing about it. It happened, and it's stuff I learned from that experience. But now I'm a different fighter. It's a different new person now, and I'm ready to just get ready for the greatest victory in boxing.
Would it be fair to say that fight, I've said this in many interviews, that fight moulded you as a fighter? I think from that fight you've gone on from strength to strength.
Yeah, of course. You can see in my last 3 fights, and just as going forward, I feel even stronger and getting things right, and just I'm in my prime of my career now, so it's now or never. Going back to that first Usyk fight, that low blow, was it a low blow, wasn't it a low blow? When you saw him go over on the floor, he didn't seem to be, he wasn't holding down below, he was holding his stomach more, but you saw his legs trembling. Yeah. How do you capitalise on that again if that situation happens again? Listen, I know what I've got to do differently, and if that happened again, if he gets back up, I'll be ready for him, whether it's fighting him, making it a brawl, whatever we have to do, we'll be ready for it.
That was Daniel Dubois in conversation with Spencer Oliver. I'm getting ready for what would be the greatest victory in boxing. It certainly would be, wouldn't it, Ade? Do you think he can do it?
He can, of course, 100% he can. I mean, I gave him zero chance going to Poland, no chance whatsoever. I almost thought it was just a formality for Alexander Usyk, and yes, obviously the controversial low blow and everything. I thought he'd done okay considering I gave him no chance. This time round, I certainly give him a good chance. He's mentally in a better space. I think he's now got a team built for him. I think we saw that in the background there. Yeah. Everyone in that gym is working for Daniel Dubois. He's not just someone in there getting rounds with people. It's all about the Daniel Dubois show. And he's coming off 3 really good victories. It's a shame we didn't get to see the Joseph Parker fight, because that would have really told us a lot about where he is. But I think he's got a great chance. And Alexander Usyk's 38. This is a young man's game. Alexander Usyk, for me, is still pound for pound number 1. But 38 is 38. When you're coming up against a prime 27-year-old who has dynamite in both hands. We saw that against Anthony Joshua, who's not afraid of the big stage as well. He's now done Poland. He's done a couple of big shows in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He's done 90,000 at Wembley. He's going to walk to the ring with no fear whatsoever. And that's a dangerous, dangerous guy. So, look, I give him a great chance. Usyk favourite. But don't be shocked if Daniel Dubois becomes undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
I mean, everything, I'm hanging on Ade's every word there. And I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole different animal than the one that fought him previously. Obviously, the victories against Joe Miller, Filip Hrgović, and the destruction of Anthony Joshua lend him to a different thought process. He's still got to go and work out this box of tricks that no one has been able to deal with, which is Usyk. If Usyk is at his level, it's going to be a very difficult fight for Daniel Dubois, irrespective of the confidence that he exists through now, because he should do. He's a legitimate world champion. He was a legitimate world champion when he beat Filip Hrgović, in my view, and he didn't need to go and cement that by dealing with Anthony Joshua, but he did, because of the nature of the way that the belts were awarded and the circumstances.
And boy, did he deal with them.
And he did. But Usyk is a different animal. Do I think he can win? Absolutely. It's all about whether he can execute. And there's no doubt that he's got the power. If he lands clean on Usyk, Usyk's going to know about it, and probably not being hit by anyone as hard as Daniel Dubois hits, irrespective of what Anthony Joshua does, irrespective of what Tyson Fury does. Daniel Dubois is in the prime of his career. But this is a remarkably difficult fight, and so it should be. It's an undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Yeah. And Daniel Dubois goes into it. I remember watching him. He's talking about him going into the ring again in Poland and going into the ring at Wembley Stadium where 90,000 people were waiting to anoint Anthony Joshua. He is a different animal. I remember watching him walking in with you during COVID when he walked into that empty auditorium fighting Joe Joyce, and he looked out of sorts. He didn't look comfortable in that environment. Now, maybe that's because there was no crowd there to feed off, but he looked out of sorts and got worked out by Joe Joyce in the end. Yeah. But this is a whole different animal, but he has got a riddle in front of him. And this guy doesn't make it easy for him to hit. Doesn't matter how much Daniel wants to hit him, it's the ability to be able to land clean on Alexander Usyk that no one else has been able to do.
You see, I was about to say to both of you, do you both take Dubois to win? But I don't think it's as clean cut as that.
It isn't. No, you've got to take Alexander Usyk to win just for the points that.
You've got to take Usyk to win.
You have to, yeah. I mean, we're talking about a generational great. When Usyk hangs it up, we'll be sort of deciding where he ranks as one of the best fighters of all time. That's how good Usyk is. He's never been down, bar that low blow. So, yeah, you've got to work that out. And he can take a crack on the chin as well. He has been hit and no one seems to make him go backwards. But, and I keep going back to it, the equaliser here is the age. It's 38. There's a lot of wear and tear on the body, not just as a pro, but as an amateur.
So I don't think that features so heavily with Alexander Usyk because I think he's a sublime athlete and the way that he lives his life. The question is about what happens with Dubois when it becomes realistic what's happening in that ring, where Usyk presents him with the same conundrums that he presented him with before. We make a lot about this one shot that caused Usyk a problem in that fight, but that was the one part of the fight that caused Usyk a problem. The rest of the fight was dominated by Usyk.
Yeah, every round.
And the question is now, we saw a particular part of the fight with Anthony Joshua where Daniel dominated the first 4 rounds of the fight. Joshua started to get into the fight and made a bad decision, which opened himself to get knocked out.
Which Usyk won't make.
And so we look at these situations and say, the one thing for me that I think the most telling fight of all tells me more about Daniel Dubois was the Hrgović fight, because that was really digging deep. Yeah. That was really coming through adversity and having to really grit down. I know Gerald Miller was a rebuild fight, but Hrgović was the one for me. Joshua was waiting to be knocked out by someone, in my view. I said it. I was the only one that said these 4 fights that Barry Hearn's son wanted to suggest with a rebuild of Anthony Joshua. As soon as someone lands on Anthony, I think he's going to go, and Daniel was the one to land on him.
Okay, we'll talk about Anthony Joshua before we go today. This is one we want to see. We can't wait for it. Dubois against Usyk. But Ade, do you or Simon, do either of you want to see Parker Chisora 3?
No. I normally want to see a third when it's one apiece. Yeah. Or if the first 2 fights were really close. And look, Chisora did well in the first fight. I was there. I worked on it.
It's Parker himself who suggested this.
Parker's just desperate to fight anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, Parker, I think, would probably suggest anyone in that top 15 or top 20.
Is he being mistreated in the heavyweight scene?
Yeah, there is a point of that. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes in terms of fights being offered and maybe turned down because of where he views himself. I think he's the third best heavyweight in the world. He took the Bakoli fight on short notice. Yes, Bakoli took it, but so did he. He took the risk as well and knocked out Bakoli in a couple of rounds. So right now, he should be in a big fight.
He should.
He should be in a big fight. We wanted to see the Dubois fight, didn't we? But you can understand why Dubois has gone to Usyk. I think it should be Parker Cabial.
Me too.
But they're managed by the same person, and sometimes that always gets a bit in the problem as well.
What I would say in defence of the Parker Chisora fight, as much as I'm in the same camp as Ade, I think this would be a better fight than the previous fights, because this version of Parker, since Ade Lee stepped into the equation, is a different animal. He lets his hands go, he gets in range, and we know that he's got the ability. And Chisora is Derek. Derek brings what he always brings.
Yeah.
You know, if from a spectacle point of view, you know you're going to see a fight there.
Yeah.
Whether we want to see it because we've seen two before, if it's the only option for Joseph Parker, which seems ridiculous for it to be the case, then I'm not hugely adverse to it. I'm not really interested in boosting Derek's pension fund, but I do think that if that's the fight that can be made, and it's the only fight that can be made for whatever political reasons or opportunity reasons, I wouldn't be sitting there going, absolutely not.
No, of course. Agreed.
Actually, when Usyk was sitting in the very seat that Ade's sitting in, we asked him, what was your toughest fight? And he said, Chisora.
He did.
Yeah, Chisora will give you a hard night's work. And look, to be fair to Chisora, I mean, he's on a run. As much as I keep saying I want Chisora to sort of hang the gloves up, he's on a run right now.
Well, he did what a heavyweight
lose.
should do to a cruiserweight coming up.
Yeah.
He mauled him and laid all over him.
Right. Before we hit the break, I've got to say this in. Ade, I don't know if you've heard this. I mentioned it briefly to Simon. Eubank Jr., Chris Eubank Jr., on course to run back last month's showdown with Conor Benn in a rematch, maybe in September. Maybe. Nothing confirmed, nothing near being confirmed. But if Eubank Jr. goes in against Benn again, then Eubank Sr. has said he's going to get up to something. Listen to Sr.
He doesn't need to do anything else. He'll never better that performance. There's two of us now. There's nothing we can't do. No, don't put it back on the line. In fact, I will use this particular question to try and steer what would be good for us. If you don't get back into the ring, Junior, then neither will I. But if you get back into the ring, then I'm going to fight someone in some exhibition match. I'm putting the pressure on you. You want to see me fight again? Yeah? Okay. Will you take another fight and I'll fight too? Because I'm with you.
Why is it about him?
He's 58.
Why does he say us when he references this? Like, he had his moment and we all enjoyed that moment. I mean, that moment, I will never forget it when he opens the car door and it's there and he appears.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's fine. We don't need to see you fight. And I mean, this is a Chris Eubank Sr, by the way, who carried on and moved up in weight, moved up to cruiserweight to have fights. So I don't think he's one to tell his son what to do. Chris will fight again. Chris will make loads of money fighting again. And I think having Senior just there by his side is more than enough. We don't need to see him in the ring.
He can't stay out of it, can he? No, he can't. He's always got to poke his nose in.
Hasn't it always been thus? When we had him in the studios, when I did him on Up Front, he's talking about his son as if his son doesn't have a free mind, as if his son should follow the directions that he dictates, and his son's 35 years of age, that whatever I may or may not think about these fights, Chris Eubank Jr. should do precisely what he wants to do.
Oh, God. Nothing fails to amaze me in this crazy sport of boxing.
Welcome.
Ade, what is it like? I'll tell you what we're going to do. When we come back after this, we'll rejoin Spencer Oliver in Ipswich. It is Jim White, Simon Jordan and Ade Oladipo live on talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco. It's where the trade goes. I know where we're going to go. We're going to head back out to Portman Road, Ipswich, because this weekend, a massive stadium fight. Fabio Wardley and his beloved Ipswich Town up against Justus Huni, and we look forward to it immensely. Frank Warren, of course, promotes Fabio Wardley, and in the other corner with Justus Huni, we find Frank Smith, and both the Franks join us live this lunchtime. Gentlemen, good afternoon to both of you.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good to speak to you guys. Mr. Frank Warren, let's kick off with you. We'll get to Fabio in a second. But there was all sorts of talk that Dillian Whyte would be in the undercard. What's happened to that?
He's withdrawn because there is a big fight that's going to be announced for him. I hope Monday latest, which I think everybody's going to like when they hear it. And it's a great opportunity for him, so we're going to make that fight happen.
I like that. I think that's a good decision as well. I think obviously there'll be some fans that haven't seen Dillian Whyte all year and want to see Dillian Whyte. But if there's a big fight, Dillian Whyte's 37. Why roll the dice and fight someone that doesn't get Dillian Whyte up for it either? Like you see Dillian Whyte's performances, when he's in there against someone very good, he steps up. When he's in there against someone very bad, Dillian Whyte's very bad. So I think this August fight, I think we've all got our clues as to who it could be. I think could be a good one for Dillian Whyte. So it makes sense to pull him up.
Okay. Frank Smith, good afternoon to you, Frank. Justice Huni, we've been impressed by this lad. He's joined us a couple of times and he's spoken well, but it's not speaking he's got to do on Saturday night. He's got to fight Fabio Wardley. Many people, Frank, have been saying to us, this is actually a better fight. He's a replacement for Jarrell Miller. This could be a better fight than the original one.
Yeah, look, it's a great fight, and respect both guys for stepping into the challenge. You know, Fabio Wardley is someone we worked with for a number of years, been involved in many nights with him. This is the biggest night of his career, but I think this is the toughest test for both men. I think Justice Huni is a tremendous fighter, much better fighter than Jarrell Miller, and I think he's going to bring a different challenge to Fabio Wardley. I can't wait for Saturday. You know, it's about time we got our chance to get, you know, a win back over Queensbury. You know, they reminded us earlier this week with a birthday cake of a year anniversary of our loss in Saudi, but now on Saturday we begin the revenge.
Frank Warren here. I feel like I can always say the surnames. I spoke to Fabio the other day and I said, look, the top three heavyweights right now, considering we don't know what's going on with AJ and Fury, are Usyk, Dubois, Parker, and I asked him how far away is Fabio from that, and he says he's right there if he wins that. How far away is he from getting in the ring with potentially any of those three if he wins on Saturday?
Well, this fight's for the interim WBA championship, and the winner will go in a #1 spot, so he's going to be quite close to it. If Fabio comes through, and I hope he will, and I believe he will come through it, then maybe one more fight, then he's quite close to having a crack for the world title. And he deserves it. I mean, he's done everything that's been asked of him. Everything he's done it the hard way and come through, and I think he's, you know, as a person, he's a great ambassador for boxing, and more importantly, he can fight.
Frank Smith, your gaffer at Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, has revealed that Anthony Joshua is in discussion with Turki Al-Sheikh regarding a potential two-fight deal. Anything you can tell us at this stage?
Yeah, look, there's been discussions ongoing about what's next for AJ. He's obviously taken some time. He had a minor surgery, as he spoke about, back in May. The key is to get him back fit, active. Whatever decision he makes next in terms of fights is going to be the biggest decision of his career. So we've got to get it right. But there's big fights to be made. I believe AJ is still the biggest commercial name in the heavyweight division, and active. There's big fights. Whether it's Tyson Fury, whether there's the likes of the Deontay Wilder fight if he comes back with a win. Usyk Dubois fight again on July 19th as well. So it's exciting times for the heavyweights, and we're excited to see AJ back. But when he's back, he's got to come back 100%, and that's always been the focus for us.
I love the way Frank Smith said the biggest commercial name there, and Frank Warren just smiled. Didn't say anything, just smiled, because he's thinking, one second, there's a guy called Tyson Fury that's still out there as well.
He's retired. I said active.
Let me tell you something, on the 19th of July, there will be a new guy. There will be a new guy. Remember, he did it in front of, 90-odd thousand against AJ, Daniel Dubois, and he's shown what he's all about. And those people were all boxing fans who were there, and they see it for themselves. And I believe he can repeat what he did against him with Usyk. It's a tough fight for him, great fight. But listen, this heavyweight division is on fire at the moment. And I think somebody said earlier on in one of the interviews, it's the golden age. I think Spencer said that. It's the golden age of heavyweight boxing, which is absolutely on the button. The heavyweights out there at the moment, they're all fighting each other. We've got another few events with heavyweights we're announcing in the next few weeks. This division's never been so lively, and there have never been so many competitive fights that have been put together.
The icing on the cake, Frank Warren, would of course be AJ against your man Tyson Fury, wouldn't it? I mean, if we were to take a straw poll this lunchtime, I don't know if Simon agrees with me, I think so many fight fans who are tuning into you guys this lunchtime in talkSPORT would say, that's a one, give us it.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I mean, we both understand that, and it's a fight that, you know, hasn't taken place, which has been talked about and everybody's wanted to see for years and years. But at the moment, you know, Tyson's in a good place. He's enjoying life, and he's starting this new Netflix series, which they started filming now. So we'll see what happens. And AJ, as Frank just said, he's had some surgery, so he's going to be out. Was it until Christmas?
I think last part of the year.
Yeah, last part of the year. So let's see what happens. You know, Tyson's. You know, the one thing about him, he's in the gym all the time. He's training hard. He enjoys training. We'll see where it goes. But as it stands at this moment, you know, there's been no discussions for the fight with him.
Yeah, Frank, get him to talk to Simon and myself again. We always used to have a laugh with him. And then he went all coy with us and doesn't speak to us. Maybe he does, I don't know.
It tells me it's the other way round. I don't know. I'll have to.
We've fallen out with him.
Get a straw poll and see who's right and who's wrong.
Gents, there were so many fantastic events last year. Frank Smith, you mentioned the 5 versus 5. I think that's probably the best. It was the most intriguing, at least. There have been rumours about another 5 versus 5. Obviously, the stables have so many fights that can be made. Are we going to see another one?
Yes.
Yeah. We need the revenge. We need the revenge. You know, we've got to make it happen one way or the other. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because you know, I think the format works really well. I think people really bought into it, and yeah, I'm very confident we'll see it again.
Great stuff.
Frank Warren.
I agree with that.
Yeah. On you go, Frank. I was just going to say thanks for your time, but
sorry, I'll just
finish off.
No, I was just going to say 5v5, the revenge. Yeah, we want that on. We want to get it on. As you say, great rivalry between us all. It's friendly rivalry, but it's still rivalry, and I really want to see that again. You know, we're going to show everybody it weren't a fluke.
Frank Warren,
cheers,
Frank
gents.
Smith, thank you very much.
And I've ordered a cake for next year. I've ordered him another cake for next year.
Terrific stuff. All we needed was Frank Spencer, and then we'd have the 3 Franks. Thank you so much, guys.
Listen, I'm going down to Ipswich, and I'm really pleased to see Frank Smith down there, because at least I know I'll get a decent cup of tea while I'm down there.
There you go. There you go. There's a few things coming out of that, not least, Ade, that Joshua is still in recovery after this operation.
Yeah.
It's never over until it's over. I mean by that, the talk about him getting into the ring with Fury.
Yeah.
We'll finish with this, Ade, in a sentence. Do you think we're ever going to see it?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a fight that sort of generates more money than you could imagine. I think it's a fight over here that's bigger than anything.
That? If you don't bring the Saudis to the table, how does it generate that?
I honestly think it does 2 million pay-per-view buys. And I honestly think, I think it does that many.
So that gets you 50 million quid, and that gets you 15 million quid of gate receipts.
All right.
These guys wouldn't go into a ring for less than 150 million quid.
In the meantime, Wardley Hooney, live on talkSPORT this Saturday night. This Thursday lunchtime, it's 1 o'clock.